So here we are back with lab 7 Benzopinacol material. We've let this air dry overnight, and so we want to weigh it. In the previous video, you should have watched me weigh the empty watch glass and get the mass for that. So I'll tear the balance here so it reads 0.00, and I'll transfer this material to the watch glass. So you can see how it kind of comes off quite well from the filter paper, almost like a crust coming off, and it can literally just, slide off the filter paper. So there's the filter paper, and here's the solid material. Now if you try to transfer it while it's wet, you have to do a lot of scraping, and it's gummy and it's hard. So this is why it's best to just air dry it on the filter, and then minimal amount of scraping needs to be required to get that last bit of powder off, okay? And there's less powder going into the air. So now that I have, so this is not the filter paper, okay? This is the solid material, Benzopinacol. You can break it up a little bit to see that it's cracked in there, okay? So that's the material. And the balance is reading 0, and I'll put this on here and we'll get the mass. And then after this, I'll do the melting point for you, okay? So let me move the camera around so you can get the mass of the solid and the dish. Don't forget to subtract the mass of the watch glass, okay? So that's it for this lab. Let's go ahead and do melting point now. So here we have our micro capillary tube. It's sealed on this end and open on this. And we just want to put some material in the open end, okay? That's about 2 to 3 millimeters in depth. And then we want to gently tap this on a hard surface. And ideally the material would be dispensed or fall down into the tip there, okay? Some of the powder stays up in there, so that's about 2 millimeters, okay? 2 millimeters, and that'll be sufficient to observe in the melting point apparatus. This substance is supposed to melt at between 179 and 180. So I'll go ahead and turn this on off switch there, and the coarse setting, I'll turn that on. And once this gets up to temperature, then I'll bring you back. We'll look through the viewport, which is right here, okay? So I'll position my camera on this clamp so you can view through the viewpoint port, and I'll have my other camera showing the temperature, okay? Okay, what you're looking at here is the center tube in the melting point apparatus, and it's just now actually beginning to melt right when I started this video. So record your data at the moment that I clicked my fingers. I'm sorry about that. And record the final melting temperature when it finally goes away. Still looks like a little clump in there, doesn't it? Now this substance is reported to melt between 179 to 180, I believe it is, and the temperature kind of warmed up a little bit fast. Let's try this again. I'll do another video here so we can take a look at that. Okay, here we go, take 2. All right, so we've got a new sample made, and that's going to be placed in the middle. Okay, middle little block there. So there it is in the middle there, and is that the one? It does kind of look weird. almost looks like it's melting. It has that weird feature on the side of the tube there. Almost like it's not homogeneous. Well, we'll just leave the tube set up in this direction here, okay? So I don't think it's melting. I think it's good. The temperature is 162 and dropping because I've turned the heater off. So now I'm going to go ahead and begin warming this up. And, okay. So we'll go ahead and observe this, all right? So remember again, a melting point analysis is always a melting point range. You want to observe the initial point that you believe it starts melting and then record that temperature, and then you want to put a dash, and then you want to record the final temperature at which it completely melts. You don't subtract the two numbers or take an average or anything like that. You record them separately, okay? So the first number is when it first starts melting, and the second number is when it stops melting. Now, if a substance is pure, it's going to have a very narrow melting point range, typically less than 1 degree Celsius. So something might melt between 120 to 121. That's a 1 degree span, so that would be a pure substance. If something melts from 69 to 73, that's a very large span, and that would indicate something is impure, okay? You, of course, also want to have a melting point that's equal to the literature melting point in order for you to consider that you have the right substance. Benzopinacol has a literature melting point of 179 to 180. That's what the lab manual says. I would go ahead and look that up on a scientific resource so that you have a decimal place, okay? There are probably several published melting points that have been reported for this substance, benzopinacol, and you probably want to get one of those, okay? All right, so keep observing. You can fast forward through this video, watch it a second time, whatever you need to do to make your assessment. And I'll just let this go, and I'll stop after I think it's completely liquefied, you know, a minute or two after that, and then we'll slap this up on YouTube for you to finish the lab. As always, thank you for watching my videos, and please do consider subscribing, okay? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video now. It's well past its final melting point. That's it for this lab.